Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dougs and Diggets, welcome back to another another installment of Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Today, we're going to be looking at the Chameleos, another Elder Dragon, part of the trio. I wanted to get these guys out of the way first, and I figured if I was going to do an Elder Dragon, out of the three, I would start with Chameleos because I feel Chameleos is the one you could probably fight on its own without any real special gear or anything like that. I will say off the top, the only thing you might need is negate poison. Outside of that, you can essentially fight Chameleos without a problem. I say this because I will be talking about some skills that its armor will give you that will help you fight another monster even better. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Chameleos, Teostra, and Kushula, they're a trio. They're the big three. Each one of them, out of their armors you can make, will help you defeat another, and so on and so forth. It's like the Pokemon trio of fire, water, and grass types. This is essentially the same thing. But Chameleos is probably, in my opinion, the one you can walk in first and fight without a huge risk of issue or anything like that, because all you really need to fight Chameleos is negate poison, which you can easily gem in and of yourself on your own. Now, with that being said, Chameleos is a very old school monster. Debuting, I want to say back to second generation, like early second gen. And also with him came came Kushula and Teostra, because they're bound together. Now, he's an Elder Dragon whose main thing is poison. One of the few monsters out there, elders if you will, whose main thing is actually a status. For the most part, there will be like fire or dragon blight or something along the lines of that. Water is a common theme as well. But Chameleos, he makes his home with poison. He is essentially the precursor to that Valhazak. If you guys are coming from Monster Hunter World, where Valhazak used the effluvia, I believe it's pronounced, to wreak havoc, Chameleos does this in the same vein, but with poison. He will put poison all over the place. He'll spit poison from his mouth. He'll put poison, like, I want to say like mines. They're not really mines, but poison areas. Like, he'll confine a small space with just poison, and it just lingers there. A poison pod, if you will. But he'll have that sitting on the ground in multiple different areas, and then he'll spit poison from his mouth. It's really ridiculous. He likes to laden the area with poison. On top of this, when he does this, he'll flap his wings and he'll push this poison. If he doesn't want it sitting in one area, he wants to bring it towards you, he'll use his wings to flap the poison towards you to afflict you with the poison as well. So his main thing is poison. He's an Elder Dragon because he can potentially poison the entire water supply to a whole area, and then before you know it, the whole forest will be dead because all the water's poison. You know what I mean? He's toxic, literally. So with that being said, I will say this about the Chameleos stuff. Fighting Chameleos is a pretty interesting way of play, because his main thing is, outside of poison, is his ability to go invisible. Now, I will say this about his ability to go invisible, is it is tied directly to the horn on his head. Now, if you break this horn, he can go, I wouldn't say invisible, more so translucent. You can kind of still see him, but, well, you can still see him. You can actively fight him, where in which his horn is not broken when he throws the mist out. This is the most important part. He can only go invisible in his mist. Once he shoots out the mist, is this white mist everywhere. For starters, don't ever get hit with this mist. This attack is incredibly powerful. Seriously, like, you'll get hit with it and you'll be like, what happened to me? 70% of your health gone. Don't get hit with it, okay? He will lash his whole head around, shooting the mist all over the place, and it's kind of hard to judge exactly where he's going to go when he does this. But when you see him do it completely, get out of the way. It's a dangerous attack that you do not want to get hit with. Now, once the mist is laid down, he can go invisible. Once he's invisible, he's invisible. Like, you cannot see this man at all. Like, you visually cannot see him. And the mechanics of how in which he goes invisible, I'm not 100% certain about, but I'm willing to say that he just honestly teleports to a different part of the map. Different part of the area. Because once he goes translucent, he lingers around a little bit and slowly navigates himself to another area. Where in which I like to feel that he doesn't do the same thing when he's actually invisible, like true invisible. I want to say he actually just teleports to a different part of the map and then ambushes you. So that's that. On top of that, he also has the ability to steal items from you with his tongue. So he'll lash his tongue out at you and steal an item. Most notably, it'll be ores. If you're carrying around like ore with you, or like things like max potion or the like, it tends to be the more valuable items to you that you do not want stolen from him, that he will steal. Now, with all these things being said, let's talk about his weaknesses, of course. Him being an Elder Dragon, he is still privy to that of Dragon, but his main weakness is that of fire. So if you bring fire, you're going to be in relatively good hands. By now, come on guys, there's fire everywhere. Bring fire, and you should decimate him entirely. Now, if you're going to do any real measure of damage, you want to hit him in the head, of course, and also on his wings. They do very good damage. So with this being said, mounting him is a very good option. So if you're using weapons like the Insect Glaive, or even Sword and Shield, or anything that can actually just jump up and get on top of the monster in handily favor, with aerial style if you will, you'll do very well against him. He doesn't move a whole lot, so he is a very big monster as well, so landing these aerial attacks would be relatively easy to do. I will say though, his mount is probably one of the hardest in the game, because he will trick you into thinking that it's safe to actually press buttons when it's not safe to press buttons, and you'll probably get knocked off for it. Be very patient when you mount him. Wait until the screen goes completely, neutral, where you can see when the main focus of the mount is you, your hunter, and then you can mash on him after that. After that, hold on to the button no matter what the little gauge says. He will rest himself for like a split second, and then you'll press the button, then you'll lose a whole lot of stamina, so don't be fooled by his mounting antics. Moving over to his armor, he has quite a few actually. Believe it or not, you can actually fight Chameleos in low rank, because it's actually a very tricky quest to kind of get low rank, and a lot of people miss fighting him in low rank, myself included, the very first time around. But you can technically fight him in low rank, and his armor is as follows: Earplugs, wind resistance low, and in high rank he gets wind res high, meaning you negate all wind pressure from all monsters period, earplugs, and status attack +1, which is pretty solid off the rip. This is high rank version, is pretty good. Now he has the EX variant that gives you high grade earplugs, Mushroomancer, and Horn Maestro. So for people running the support Hunting Horn joint, that's a very good set all by itself. With a few other knickknacks you can swing in there, you have a very, very good set for high rank. Now moving to G rank, we're looking at a skill called Anti-Cush. Now, a little explanation goes into this. This is what I talked about before, where each of these three monsters, Chameleos, Cush, and Tio, they are used to fight each other. Anti-Cush is an ability to give you a Windproof High, which is Wind Res High, Polar Hunter, which is Cold-Blooded, and also Negate Bind. So that way you're not bound in like mud, or you're not bound in like snow, things like that. The things that like encase your body, you're not bound by those anymore. So that's all the skills in one skill, which is really, really useful when fighting Cush. And then you get earplugs and status attack +1. Now the GX gives you high grade earplugs, Mushroomancer, Maestro, which is all the same from the EX, but this time it gives you endurance. Endurance is a pretty cool skill. It allows you to take damage from a monster, and that in turn refills your Hunter Arts gauge, and I believe your Valor gauge as well. So normally you have to land attacks to actually increase their gauge, but in this case you can actually take hits and it'll also increase your gauge, on top of also landing attacks to further increase your gauge. So it's a really cool skill to actually have if you're relatively arts focused as a hunter, or even like a support kind of guy, or a sword and shield, or any type of play that you say I use mad arts. This is really helpful for that. So with the armor and everything out the way, I will say his weapons are relatively a mixed bag. Honestly, they're all over the place. A perfect example is this. His Charge Blade has 380 attack, -30 affinity, no element, and essentially pure green. So if you're a blunt user with negate crit, that's a really, really decent Charge Blade to actually have, all things considered. And then on the other side of the coin, you have his Greatsword with 270 attack, pitiful attack for a Greatsword, 70 poison, and relatively decent sharpness hither and thither. Now he also has his Longsword, I believe, that doesn't even have an element, no status, no poison. You get a bonus to defense. I mean, his stuff is like all over the place. So for the most part, I will say his weapons, they tend to be around the 300 to 320 attack range. Most of them tend to have poison. Some have really high poison, some have medium poison, some have relatively low poison, like his dual blades. So they're kind of like mixed here and there. It really depends on what type of weapon you like to use. Will I actually recommend a weapon from him? Now, if you use Gun Lance, Greatsword, Insect Glaive, Hunting Horn, and I believe Switch Axe, I would recommend those. Everything else, it really depends on if you really want it or not, because like I said, a lot of his other weapons, they just tend to be kind of off, like pretty weird, but not bad in totality, all things considered. So that's his weapons and that's his armors. They're pretty decent. I'd recommend a few of these. His armor for sure is really, really good stuff, especially going to be fighting more of these Elder Dragons. His weapons, like I said, it really depends on what you're actually working with. And honestly, when it comes to Chameleos, just have a bit of patience. don't go in here very recklessly. If you go in here recklessly, you're probably going to have a bad day. You're going to get hit with some really odd stuff because he's a very odd attacking monster. He doesn't move like other monsters do. Really quick jerky motions, really like odd attacks that you normally wouldn't see a usual monster do because of his particular body style and the monster type that it actually is. He's a lizard. He's like a gecko. He's a wood gecko, so to speak. And not so much a chameleon. He's definitely a wood gecko. So he has these weird quirky motions, kind of like the crustaceans, who have they like to like circle around you and attack you with their pincer, then circle back around the other way. They just attack in a different way that most monsters will. He'll have these same oddities about him. On top of going invisible, and on top of him throwing out all the poison everywhere, it's kind of hard to really close the gap, but once you really get in, you can actually do great amounts of damage to him, especially if you break the horn. If you break the horn, he can still go invisible. Well, he'll go technically translucent, but you can see him very clearly, and he moves a lot slower in this particular stake. So I recommend doing as much mounting damage as you can, break that horn, and just go 100% in. Remember, fire damage is what you're going to really want to run when you go to fight him, but if you don't, dragon is very nice as well because he is an elder dragon. Elder dragons tend to have this amazing weakness to their own thing, which would be dragon. But other than that, guys, that's Chameleos in a nutshell. If you want more information on Chameleos, you can click on the screen here. I have more videos about Chameleos where I talk about him in other games as well. A lot of things from those other games transfer over to this game, and they haven't really changed a whole lot. So if you want to see other views of me doing this, you can totally see that. And if you want to fight him in other games as well, like For You or even the original Generations, as opposed to Generations Ultimate, again, those videos will be there and you can check those playlists out as well. But with that being said, everyone, it's been your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. Right now, as I speak, it is June 9th, E3 week. It is Sunday, June 9th, and for the next 3 or 4 days, it's going to be E3 madness. I'm going to be checking out a lot of E3 stuff. Whether I make videos about the E3 or whatever depends on like what's coming out, and I'll probably be super excited to make a video about it, but that's what I'll be doing. I'll just be chilling and watching some E3 videos. I will be getting a few more videos out to you guys like handily. I have been lax, like real lax. It's been like 2 weeks since my last video, but that's because I've just been taking a break. I've been taking a break, just relaxing. I've been going through some stressful stuff. I don't think I told you guys about my stress, but I'm going through some stressful stuff. I'm just trying to like, live comfortably, not trying to like overwork myself here. But I do want to knock these videos out for you guys, that way you can get to the ice port and stuff. So when that comes out, you'll see more from me in that regard. But with that being said, it's been your boy. You all take care. Have a wonderful day.